Well, there it is, folks. The video, that short little clip that you just watched, I posted that up to Instagram a few days ago, just asking the simple question, does this look safe to you? Now, I thought that would be kind of amusing to do. Why? Because that sort of thing where you have somebody walking downrange while there's someone shooting in certain places, that is a common accepted practice. It's done because it's more efficient. It speeds up the training because we don't need to call the line cold or have everything doesn't need to stop for one guy to walk down range and take a look at his targets or pace targets or whatever he's going to do. It just allows everything to keep running. So what you're seeing is very, very common practice in some places. Now, putting that on the internet is a little bit interesting because you don't see that on the internet that much. It's considered, it's obviously what you're seeing is a flagrant violation of a lot of range rules, from most ranges that civilians especially are going to be going to. However, it's common practice, like I said, in some places. And I should even say it's common practice in some places that are very, very risk averse. So I've been to, at that range where I was shooting, it's like we had to wear long sleeve shirts because we were shooting steel and they didn't want guys to get hit by the spalling in the arms, that kind of thing. So we had to wear long sleeves. Like it's a very, very risk averse place. But at the same time, walking down range while people are shooting is not a problem, not necessarily. So I thought that would be interesting to put that up on Instagram and ask people what they thought. And of course, the comments never let me down. Now, I would say most people looking at that, they're like, they're look at the video and they're like, okay, this guy's shooting here. There's somebody over there downrange. That's not really nobody's being muzzled. There's not like bullets flying by a person or anything. So they look at that and like, yep, that looks safe to me. And happily, I think that was the majority of the comments that I saw on Instagram. So that is good. People are like, yep, that maybe I don't like it, but that doesn't seem like it explicitly is a safety problem. There were other people that were, I would say they were honest. Like this would be a lot of people, especially the first time they see that or the first time, or if they're doing something like that, let's say, they're like, yeah, I don't see a safety problem, but it gives me the willies. It gives me the heebie-jeebies. I don't like the look of it. So there was some people like that. I think the most interesting guys to engage with in the comments were those who thought that somebody walking down range, they're like, well, that's riskier. That's riskier. And it was like to me, that's kind of weird. It's like, what is the risk? Like there's no one is going to be shot. There's not going to be a problem here. I don't understand what's riskier about it. And a lot of guys, they just can't, they can't wrap their head around it where they're like, they can't wrap their head around the idea that there's not going to be a problem doing that. And I'm just going to tell you from experience, like there will not be a problem doing that. Nobody's going to get shot. Nothing crazy is going to happen. It will be okay. To give you an idea of this type of thinking, like let's say you've got this pistol and normally to unload it, I would just remove the magazine, cycle the slide, look at it. I see the round pop out. I'm like, yep, it's empty. Okay. I just emptied the pistol. Now, if I say, well, it'd be less risky, the procedure you're doing, if you remove the magazine, cycle the round out and lock the slide back, then I want you to stick your finger in there and feel and make sure that there's no round in there. It's like, well, I understand to a lot of people, they'd look at that and say, well, that's an additional safety procedure, an additional layer of safety. Therefore, that is safer. I understand they would say that. Like that's how they would feel. But I'm just saying, like from experience, like I don't think that that's going to reduce the probability of accidents at all. I don't think that'd make any difference. Like I can effectively unload the pistol. Yep, it's unloaded. Cool. Like shoving my finger in there. As long as it's light and I can see, like that's not going to assist me in unloading the pistol at all. I don't see how that's going to reduce the probability of accidents. And it's kind of the same sort of thinking here as when you have somebody walking down range. I understand guys look at it like, oh, that you're assuming risk. And it's like, well, what's the risk? Like nothing, like honestly, nothing is going to happen. This is pretty well known. Like, it's like it. I know it makes you emotionally feel good to say that that's risky, but if we're looking at the scoreboard as far as like how things go, like not like again, this is common in a lot of places. This happens all the time. Like no one's going to get shot. Anyway, I thought I would just say that. So one other question I got from people is, why would you do this? Why is there somebody going downrange while you're shooting? It would be better if he waited till you weren't shooting, or you'd stop shooting if he's downrange or something like that. Well, the reason that this is a common thing in a lot of places is it's just way, way more efficient. So the way that range is constructed is we'll have like some non-impact side berm type of a thing. And then I could set up 6, 7, 8 copies of whatever drill I wanted to do in between that area. Okay. So for example, sometimes if we have steel downrange where there's going to be frag and spalling flying around, we have to call the line cold and have everybody stop shooting before anybody can go down there and patch up targets. And the important thing for me is take accountability for where the rounds went. Like I want guys to know where their bullets are going. This is important for training. So when we're shooting steel, like we have to shut the line down, and then guys go downrange, like all together. Well, that's fine. Like that's not a huge deal. However, that just means we're going to be shutting the shooting down more frequently, and guys are going to be pacing up targets less frequently, and it does really slow the training down. And it's not so much like that guys would shoot less. It's just you're going to have less information about where rounds are going, because the way it works a lot of times is guys are just going to cycle through and want to keep shooting, even if there's bullet holes from their buddies is up on the targets. So I see how that's going, and it's like, well, we'll pull the steel out. We'll set the drills just on paper, so there's no problem going downrange, and then guys can go downrange more frequently, and they're going to know where those rounds are going. And again, we already know there's not going to be a safety problem here. It's like if I'm shooting here and there's a guy over that direction who's downrange of me, but he's over there, there's not going to be a problem here. And it's going to speed up the training a lot, and guys are going to be more accountable for where their rounds are going. So anyway, I thought it was a fun little thing to put that video up on Instagram and watch the comments roll in. Me and the guys, we had a fun dinner watching the comments on that Instagram post, just because I'm like, oh, this will be exciting. This will be entertaining to put this up and ask people what they think. I guess there's one other thing I should say. There was a few interactions from like shooting instructor people on that. I shouldn't put it in air quotes. These people charge money for classes, a lot of them, and they're just looking at it like, oh, that's not safe or that's not right. And it's like, at that point, honestly, you should find a different shooting instructor, because some of those guys were morons. Like they can't understand a different paradigm, like a different way of looking at safety. They don't like anybody who's kind of doing stuff that's outside of whatever bounds that they judge as acceptable. So if you've got a shooting instructor who doesn't understand this stuff I'm talking about, where, with a vetted group of people, you can kind of change the way you run the range to make it more efficient, make it faster, make it better. I would find a different shooting instructor at that point. Anyway, that's all for today, guys.